Those of you who are interested in productivity would have heard the concept building a second brain. This term was coined by Tiago Forte and is based on the idea of personal knowledge management. When I first came across this framework, it looked super interesting, but I was intimidated to try it since it seemed very complex to set up. A lot of the second brain implementation examples I found were in apps like Notion and Obsidian with tags, databases, and backlinks, and it just seemed like it would take a lot of time and energy to set up. I'm always mindful not to spend too much time on maintaining the tool versus doing the actual work itself. But once I read the book, I realized that the second brain doesn't need to be complicated to set up at all, and most general users would benefit from having a simple and practical setup versus a complex and elaborate one. So this video is for those of you who are on the fence about trying to build a second brain. I'll show you how anyone can get started in a simple way that will yield immediate benefits. And while you can set this up using most any digital note-taking app, I like using OneNote for its simple structure and ease of use. Okay, so I mentioned that Second Brain is a personal system for knowledge management. But what does that actually mean and what's the practical application for it? David Allen, in his book Getting Things Done, writes, "Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them." We're struck with ideas all the time while we're washing the dishes, taking a shower, walking to work, or even watching a YouTube video like this one. But if you don't capture these ideas in an external source, like a digital notebook, you forget and these ideas disappear. A second brain system provides the tool and the place to capture and organize these fleeting thoughts and ideas. You might be thinking, okay, so we capture these random thoughts and ideas. What do we do with them and how do they help us? This is where I think it helps to start small. Don't capture notes and ideas for everything that interests you or captures your attention. The information you capture should have some utility in the future. If you want to see a quick return on your time investment and see immediate benefits of using a second brain, start out with just 2 or 3 projects that you're currently managing. They could be for home or for work. In your notebook, create a section for each of these projects. Let's use these 3 projects as examples. Plan a vacation, submit a creative brief for a new product, sound treat home office. If you're like most people, you'll set up dedicated time to brainstorm ideas and to plan for these projects. You may have recurring meetings with your colleagues or family members to discuss, and if you have a block of time, you may sit down in front of your computer or get on your smartphone to do some research around these projects. Now, this is great and that's absolutely needed, but we know that ideas and inspiration about these projects can strike at any time, not just during these dedicated times and meetings. For example, while reading a magazine in a waiting room of my dentist's office, I can get an idea for a new vacation destination that I'd never considered. Or while walking around in a mall, I can get inspiration for how a new product launch is displayed in a store. Or while at dinner, a friend shares their experience of having sound treated in their room. With a second brain, I now have the tools to capture and a place to organize these ideas. This means you're making progress on your projects at all times outside the constraints of your dedicated working time. These active projects or things that you're working on will naturally occupy your mind, and if you pay attention to it, you'll notice that you'll have many moments where ideas sparks around these things. Don't let these fleeting thoughts slip away, and don't trust that you'll remember these thoughts when you're ready to act on them. Now, when I review these sections in my next meeting or in my dedicated working time, I already have rich information that I've organically collected in between the dedicated session or block of time to think about these projects. And when I'm ready to take action on these projects, I have information I've built up readily available. I don't need to build from scratch. This is the basic premise of building a second brain. You're curating information for a specific action. There's no reason to collect information if you're not going to do anything with it. So again, if you're just starting out and want to get your feet wet in building the second brain, collect information and ideas and thoughts only for your active projects. You'll be amazed by the outcome. As you complete these projects, the information you've gathered could serve as resources in the future. When you plan for your next vacation a year from now, you can pull up the notes that you gather for your last vacation to see if there are any useful information that you can reuse. Same for the creative brief that you created. The next time you need to submit a brief for a new product, you can use the framework you've already built around this to use as a starting point. You don't need to ever start from scratch. And from this point on, any work you do and work process you design or outputs you create can become inputs to something new. And the work, the notes, and the information will compound and become a robust second brain because you never throw away your work. And you give yourself a huge advantage over someone else who needs to start from scratch. And as you revisit these notes and ideas, you refine and modify them for continuous improvement, and that allows your ideas to grow and mature. I hope this video was helpful in demystifying the concept of building a second brain and remove some of the intimidation factors to get started with building one for yourself. I deliberately stayed away from the technical concepts used in the book, which are code and para. Code explains how to create things, and para explains how to store things. I already made a video about using para in OneNote. If you're interested in learning more about code, drop a comment below, and if there's enough interest, I'll consider making a video about it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.